When you think of your ideal Superman movie, does it involve him getting his ass kicked for about 90 minutes and a dog stealing the show? No? Well, welcome to 2025. That's what you get anyway. Hi y'all, SnarkyJay cosplay here. Do not adjust your TV sets. I'm well aware that my appearance today is a little bit different, but tonight I got invited to an early special screening of Superman 2025. It's currently Monday the 7th, and I'm recording this at midnight. I got out of the theater a couple of hours ago, I put together my review, I kind of formulated my thoughts. For those that are watching this before having seen the movie, don't worry. This is going to be a spoiler-free review up until the end. I will let you know when we get into that spoiler section, but for now you are totally safe. I've kept this free of spoilers. I just want to give y'all my thoughts on James Gunn's new Superman. Superman 2025 is a film that could have been a lot worse, but I think what is so frustrating about it is that it could have been a lot better. It's a film that is mostly propelled by dizzying camera work, tonal whiplash, and a plot that's almost as bloated as its ensemble. David Corenswet, honestly, despite a flawed script, brings a gentle earnestness to the character that really made me feel like I was watching the Superman. But unfortunately, for so much of the other things in this movie, I kind of felt like, what the hell did I just watch? My rating for Superman 2025 is a 4.5 out of 10. It's a visually decent, occasionally entertaining, but ultimately overstuffed first outing for David Corenswet's Superman. Those great performances, unfortunately, can't save it from tonal inconsistencies, weird direction, and of course that signature James Gunn thing that just doesn't appeal to me and I don't think works for Superman. I would have given this a higher score had they left the dog at home and not taped the camera to a Roomba. So let's get right into it. My issue with this movie is that the plot still tries to do too much. It wants to really tie into modern day and make you feel like the Superman is grounded in our reality, which is a little unsettling and unpleasant at times. And there are a lot of moving pieces to this. There's a lot of different elements, and it honestly kind of feels like too many for a first Superman solo film. I feel like this movie is so bloated in ways that they really just could have cut down when writing the script for this. It's almost structured like an action sandwich where it's just battle after battle after battle, and then every once in a while some melodrama. And then Superman is usually getting wrecked. That's probably one of my biggest issues with this film. I'm not a Zack Snyder fangirl. I couldn't stand what Zack Snyder did with the Superman character. I'm not a big Superman person to begin with, but when I see Superman, I want to see that hopeful guy, the big blue Boy Scout. I want him to be the symbol of hope that he should always be, especially in contrast to his fellow heroes, to the villains. I like to see Superman win. And this Superman is body slammed, face slammed, shoulder checked. I mean, I was half expecting somebody to pull out a folding chair and just bash it over his head. Sure, it's good to see Superman be a little vulnerable, right? I mean, he's boring if he's too perfect. But this kind of like toes the line between flawed and like, holy shit, dude, I feel bad for you. Why are you getting your ass kicked in your own movie so much? I just really wanted to see him win at this point because I felt bad. There are some things within the plot that feel kind of CW-ish, and I really wanted this to be so much better than it ended up being, at least to me. So let's talk about the tone. This is so very clearly a James Gunn project, signed by James Gunn, like James Gunn's Superman. That's kind of how I feel about this. His signature tone and his style are absolutely undeniable through this film. And unfortunately, I think James Gunn's style is best in small doses or when it's not about Superman. And I felt that way when I saw the trailers, and I feel like my fears were kind of confirmed. This movie has moments where it wants to be silly. And then it wants to be serious, and it wants to be emotional, and it wants to be meta, and it wants to be Guardians of the Galaxy but with capes. It wants to literally have it all, but as a result, it kind of undercuts itself consistently. Almost every emotional beat has to get cut short by a one-liner, some kind of joke, a reference, or again, the antics of Krypto the Superdog. Buy the plush for your kids, they'll love him. James Gunn always seems, but especially in this movie, so hell-bent on imprinting his own personal ideas, his own brand, his own experiences onto things that don't always need that specific signature. When the story calls for something a little more grounded and sincere, he just refuses to let it happen because he's gotta be James Gunn. One of the big things that honestly pleasantly surprised me about this movie were the visuals. The trailers had me bracing for borderline unfinished CGI and some really wonky imagery, and even though the suit, which is one of the main visuals of this film, didn't get any better and I still don't like it, the CGI looks a lot more polished. And there are actually scenes in this film, you do still have some of the flat superhero lighting, you're always gonna get that, but there are scenes in this film that show genuine cinematic ambition that surprised me with how nicely produced they were. There are a lot of moments in this film where it tries to be visually striking and actually succeeds. But, and this is a big but, behave in the comments section, I know you. The amount of shaky cam and spinning shots in this movie, someone please get James Gunn a tripod and a f***ing chill pill. Some of the shots feel like watching a GoPro strapped to a squirrel. I mean, I went in to watch Superman and I left honestly feeling dizzy and disoriented. Whether it's the dog, Superman, any of the other heroes, or any of the other baddies in the film, by the end of it, my eyes hurt. And speaking of the dog, because I've spoken so much about the dog, we have to talk about Krypto, or better yet, how to ruin a movie in 3 seconds. Look, I'm gonna be real with you. I was looking at this scruffy-ass, poorly behaved dog, and I can't tell you that he doesn't remind me a little bit of my dog. And I know that that is what James Gunn and the people in this film are counting on. That people are gonna look at Krypto and go, ha, my dog's a dick too! And they're gonna make millions, and they're gonna sell the popcorn buckets and the plushies and the shirts and all that shit. I understand. I get it. But I still feel like when I watch Superman, I don't need to feel like I relate to him that much. Because he's Superman. I don't need to go, my dog's an asshole too. No, his dog could just be great. And so the problem is that Krypto the Superdog is admittedly adorable for like 5 minutes. His entire shtick, honestly for me, got really old really fast because his whole thing there is just being like a chaos gremlin. I feel like his entire existence is just to wreck emotional beats and then piss on anything that could be taken seriously. I honestly, at the beginning, I was like, all right, dog is cute, he's fine, he reminds me of my little guy. And then by the end of it, I kind of felt like the movie would stop every time this dog would return to the screen. Imagine really trying to take any heartfelt or serious moment seriously and then having it be interrupted by, oh, the dog bit something, like it gets a little old. Performances though, I have to tell you, David Corenswet blew me away. I liked Henry Cavill. I loved Henry Cavill. But there were moments in this film where I was watching David Corenswet, and I think he had a bigger challenge because when I saw Henry Cavill, I said, that's Superman. David Corenswet had to kind of win me over because I just felt like Henry Cavill did a great job with the character. Even if I didn't like what Snyder did, I loved Henry Cavill. David Corenswet had to come up from that for me. And there were moments where I looked at him, and it's not just what he looks like. Yeah, okay, he looks a little bit like Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill looks like Superman. It's a whole thing. But you can see it. It's this thing that comes from within him, that rises above him, where you look at him and in his smile and in his eyes and in his gaze, you see Superman. The script that he's given needed to be so much better, but my God, David Corenswet f***ing rocks as Superman. Yes, there are a lot of moments where he's sort of bordering on whiny, and he's this younger, inexperienced Superman that is very different from Henry Cavill's, but he sells this more human, more sympathetic, gentle part of Superman and Clark Kent that he's like a caramel. It just melts in your mouth. It's great. I really like David Corenswet as Superman. I also want to give flowers to Rachel Brosnahan, who really brings a great energy to Lois Lane. She is every bit the intrepid reporter. She's charming, she's stubborn, she has a great energy with Clark Kent. And what I really like is I think she delivers a nuanced performance and the script allows her to be a nuanced, great version of Lois Lane that feels classic and never feels like just another cog in the modern era girl boss machine. The scene stealer here is Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, who is absolutely brutal. He's frightening sometimes. I think he brings a fantastic energy to the character. He's somehow unsettling and charismatic and incredibly layered. I don't entirely love his arc in this film, and I'll get into that in just a few minutes in the spoiler part of this review, but the performance was fantastic. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner and Eddie Gathegi as Mr. Terrific. They brought so much personality and charm and unique characters to the story than I actually expected, and they were incredibly welcome contributions to the story and both the really stacked cast. I ended up leaving the film wanting to know more about Mr. Terrific and struggling between either wanting to punch Guy Gardner in the face or get a bowl cut and travel the world with him. So the final verdict here. Look, I wasn't the biggest fan of Zack Snyder's borderline emo, super dark Superman. I went into this wanting something brighter, something more Superman, that symbol of hope, the bright colors. I didn't want James Gunn's sense of humor, but I went in ready for a fresh take on Superman, the Superman of this generation. And what I got was Superman being tossed around like a rag doll for almost 2 hours straight. There's a good Superman movie buried somewhere in this film, pretty deep down. And David Corenswet is a strong enough lead to carry that story. But James Gunn's obsession with the self-aware humor, with the CGI shots shaking all over the place, and his absolute refusal to let serious moments breathe, all those things really just bog this movie down for me. And what we end up with is a movie that's honestly way more loud than fun, sometimes more frustrating than emotionally impactful. A very tonally confused film that for me did not quite stick the landing. Now I'd like to get into a full spoiler breakdown. I want to nitpick some stuff, I want to talk about the plot. I'm really going to get into this, so I am warning you right now, the next few minutes are going to be all spoilers. I know some people listen to me while they drive or while they clean the house. If that's you, please stop whatever you're doing, pause the video, exit, go watch the movie, do something. I am going to spoil this film in the next few minutes. Please do not get mad at me in the comments if you don't turn me off in time. This is your last warning. You've been warned. Let's go. So this film does in fact kick off with a very untriumphant crashing of Superman into the snow in the Arctic. He's just been defeated by a character called the Hammer of Boravia, which is one of the main fictional nations in this very on-the-nose geopolitical mess. Superman is under a lot of scrutiny and fire on social media after he stopped the invasion of Jahanpur by the nation of Boravia. Almost everyone is mad at him for not staying in his lane, including Lois Lane, who grills him during an interview, and he does in fact lose his shit during that interview in a sort of uncharming, kind of childish way. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that geopolitical conflict in a few minutes, but first let's talk about Lex Luthor. Of course, he's a tech billionaire, but they elaborate on the fact that he has a cultish following. He, throughout this film, you come to find out, is quite literally running a social media smear campaign during which one of the hashtags is super shit, which really pisses Superman off. And he has literal monkeys in a pocket universe typing things all day and stirring conflict on the internet. Wow, I've never heard stories of political influences being pushed around by external parties looking to win favor one way or another by stirring fake controversy on social media. This is such a novel concept. Anyway, we all know that Lex Luthor just hates Superman. So he hates Superman, he's jealous of him, he wants to knock our big blue Boy Scout out of the sky, and the social media campaign is the first step towards that. He has a secret motivation here, and we find out about the secret motivation through, I'm not kidding you, a series of selfies taken by his abused ex-girlfriend. They are able to find all these clues in the backgrounds of her selfies because she takes pictures conveniently like this in front of every single relevant thing that Lex Luthor is doing. He's basically almost donating arms to the nation of Baravia so that when the war against Jarhanpur gets worse and they ultimately get annihilated, he can take a portion of the land that they're gonna claim and he can occupy it and become king of his own area. His cult-like tech following will follow him over there and he can have his own place and he can be king. Wow, tech billionaires with cult-like followings? Never heard of him. So, alright, Superman crash landed here with a message from his parents. Jor-El is played by Bradley Cooper. That was weird. So the latter half of the message was damaged when he crash landed here, but the first half is this whole thing about you're here to serve the people of Earth, do good for them, protect them, blah, blah, blah. The latter half, again, is destroyed. Lex Luthor manages to make it into the Fortress of Solitude, and with the help of the engineer, who interestingly enough has an accent but has to remind you that she speaks Spanish because at the beginning of the movie she curses exclusively in Spanish. Mierda! I would never remember that somebody was Hispanic if they didn't throw in a Spanish palabra every now and then. Palabra means word. I'm being very meta about this. Please laugh. It is almost 1 a.m. Anyway, Lex and his people fix the rest of the message, and the rest of the message is basically Jor-El and Lara telling Kal-El, like, yeah, the people of Earth are stupid. We've sent you to rule over them. You should rule with no mercy. Annihilate anybody who gets in your way. Spread your seed, or whatever. Something weird like that. Some mixed messaging. Lex Luthor publishes this online, and everybody turns on Superman. Oh my god, he's got a secret harem. That's a whole thing. They make a joke about his secret harem like 3 different times. Clark is destroyed. He's distraught. How could my parents be this insane? He has a whole identity crisis, basically, as one does. The whole way that Lex Luthor got into the Fortress of Solitude, we come to find out, is because he took a hair from Superman and cloned him and made Ultraman, who I honestly thought was Henry Cavill at first. It's scary how much these guys look alike sometimes. There ends up being like this excruciatingly long battle between these two at the end. Fighting anything in this movie takes absolutely forever, especially that big kaiju looking thing that was just an experiment by Lex Luthor to be a distraction. I know I'm definitely missing some stuff here, but my idea is not to give you everything about the movie. I just want to hit the major points. Again, it's almost 1 a.m. I couldn't take notes into this place because I couldn't have my phone at the screening. Bear with me, guys. I'm doing my best for you. When Lex broke into the fortress to do the whole message thing, he also kidnapped Krypto, and he took him to a pocket universe. When he released that video and a whole bunch of controversy started, Superman ultimately decides to turn himself into the US government. Unfortunately for Superman, the US government then turns him back over to Lex Luthor, pretty much. In Lex Luthor's pocket universe, where he imprisons Superman and then leaves Elemental Man to weaken Superman with kryptonite in a little glass box, like a beta fish being ignored by a 12-year-old, Lex has a bunch of other people kidnapped in this pocket universe for other nations. He's got an annoying ex-girlfriend. He's got a lot of people in boxes here. But Elemental Man isn't super keen on keeping Superman weak, but they have his green baby kidnapped. I'm so surprised I haven't already seen action figures of this green baby. So he eventually stops using kryptonite on him and he makes a little baby son, and they get out and they take the baby, and there's this like 6-minute scene of juggling the baby and falling through atoms, and there's a black hole. I'm just as lost as you are. It becomes so convoluted, messy, and confusing that I felt like I was looking at my 12th grade calculus homework. There's some other stuff that goes on. Eventually there's another like royal ass kicking, and Lois eventually takes Clark back to Smallville. Now when he faced off and did all that stuff in the portal started opening a rip. It's opening in the earth, and people are gonna fall through it, and the universe is gonna basically be destroyed. And Lex is like, cool, if Superman dies, I'm cool with that. Superman's gotta go take care of Lex. All the while, Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific, they had to stop the invasion of Jarhanpur by the nation of Baravia. Let's reiterate that for a second. Baravia is a rich nation with a leader that is incredibly passionate and unsettled. At first, he and the people of Baravia are lying and saying that they are getting involved in the conflict in Jarhanpur because they are trapped by an oppressive regime. Jarhanpur is a desert nation rich with oil. And so it turns out the people of Baravia really just want to take their oil, their land, and by the final invasion scene, they literally are saying they want to kill all the people of Jarhanpur. Was that supposed to be commentary? Sure. Was it subtle? Not even a little. And look, I'm not saying superhero movies have to be apolitical completely, but if I wanted something this on the nose, I'd just go watch a Vice documentary. And the problem with it is that as a movie, it won't even let itself be taken that seriously. When Lex is defeated, and Mr. Terrific is the one to stop that rift from forming. He's a great character throughout this whole thing. Superman comes for Lex Luthor's shiny dome and rocks him. And at this moment, there is a monologue delivered by Superman about his own humanity. And I've already told you, I acknowledge I'm not a Superman fan. I'm way more of a Batman person. But I'm sitting there and for a minute I was almost tempted to go, oh my god, this is so corny. And then I sat there and I listened. And I really listened. And I looked at David Corenswet and I listened to what the script was saying. And I said, this isn't corny, this is Superman. It was so weird. I had spent 2 hours watching a movie that I really didn't enjoy, and I had chills because I was sitting there like, this guy's a symbol of hope. This is beautiful. This is inspiring. And then the f***ing dog jumps up out of nowhere and just attacks Lex Luthor like a literal f***ing rag doll. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? I have watched a movie that I really didn't like all that much, and I was sitting here, and as I was talking to you about it, like I started getting chills as I described how I felt watching that. That's crazy. I'm not a Superman stan. And it was this moment where I was like, holy shit, that's Superman. I get it. And then the dog comes out of nowhere and ruins the moment. Why would you have it ruined by the dog? Why wouldn't James Gunn just let Superman be Superman?
Hi, Editing Jay here. I don't know how I completely forgot to mention this last night, but it was probably because it was 1 a.m. and I was exhausted. Supergirl is, in fact, in the last few minutes of this film. By the time everything is over, she comes to pick up Krypto, except the way that she arrives to pick up Krypto is drunk and busting into the Fortress of Solitude, stumbling around. So according to Superman, she loves to go to planets with red suns so that she can go get drunk. That's literally her whole thing. She is a drunken party girl. That's what James Gunn has decided to do with Supergirl, ladies and gentlemen. What a guy.
My rating, again, is a 4.5 out of 10. This is probably going to be the Superman to define a generation because I'm going to be real with you. The audience was clapping. People seemed happy about it. They did. Maybe I'm the problem. I can accept that. I know that I'm such a tough nut to crack when it comes to these things. So maybe the problem is me. I'm just being honest with you. I went to a free screening. I was given free popcorn and concessions and all that sort of thing. If I wanted more invites and free I would say nothing but good things about this movie, but I am being honest with you. Around a Fantastic Superman is a shaky, bloated, tonally confused film that treats real-world tragedy like meme fuel and can't go 5 minutes without a dog joke. And that's all from me. I've been SnarkyJay. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. For more SnarkyJay, be sure to check me out on Instagram, and if you'd like to support me, this channel, and my content creation, do check out and consider subscribing to my Patreon for exclusive photo shoots, sets, and cosplay content. I'll add links to all of those in the description below, and let me know your thoughts on Superman 2025 in the comments below.